Well, hello my friends, and welcome back to my channel. As promised, I'm going to be showing you how to make a delicious lower sugar cheesecake in my Instapot. And it's simpler than you think. It takes half the time that a traditional cheesecake would take in the oven, and you don't have to heat up your whole house. And I will show you step by step from the crust to the filling. And for the topping, I'm going to be utilizing the abundance of cherries that I happen to have, which is wonderful. I love fresh cherries. There's nothing like them when they're in season. And I'm going to be making a fresh sauce for the top. Of course, you could always leave it plain or top it with any fruit you like, but this one's going to be cherry. So let's get started. For your crust, you are going to need 1.5 cups of crushed graham crackers. So how I like to do that, because I don't want to dirty my food processor or my blender, I just like to put it in a Ziploc bag, gallon size one, and use my hands and this rolling pin to crush them. As you can see, they're starting to come out pretty crummy. It's hard to do this while I hold the phone with one hand, so I'm going to pause, crush up my crumbs, and I'll show you what they look like after. Okay, so this is what they look like when they're crushed up finally. I know I've shown you guys how to do this kind of crush before, so I won't spend too much time on it. So I'm just going to basically empty this into my measuring cup, and I'm going to keep going until I have 1.5 cups of this. Okay, so I like my cheesecake crust to be a little bit thicker. So I know the recipe called for 1.5 cups of graham cracker crumbs, but I decided to go ahead and do 2 cups. Now to that, you're going to melt 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Like I said, I did slightly more. I just eyeballed it. I have a butter container on my counter. And yes, you guys, you can keep butter out on your counter year-round if it's in the correct crock. This I got on Amazon. Nothing's wrong with it. I've never gotten sick from it. And it's a lot easier to spread this way. So I'm going to add this in. Might need a little bit more, we'll see. And then I'm going to stir them around, and then we'll put them into our 9-inch leak-proof springform pan. It looks a lot bigger than it is. Let's see if I can pull back. Again, don't mind my mess. Alright, so that's our springform pan. Another thing I like to do in the graham cracker crust is just add a sprinkle of cinnamon. It gives it a little bit of something something. Okay, I figured that while I'm mixing this up, I would talk to you guys. Whoa, I forgot I have a little fan here. I just put that cinnamon in there and it blew back on me. Duh. See, my little fan. Have to sell Walmart for $10. I am in the hot part of the kitchen. Even though I have the air conditioner going, it still gets really warm in this section. So, mixing it all around. I think I'm going to need a little bit more melted butter, but we'll see. And I didn't measure that cinnamon that I put in. It was basically like 2 shakes. It just gives it a little bit of something nice. And you basically just want the graham cracker crust to be wet enough so that you can push it around your springform pan and still get it to adhere to the sides, not too dry, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna add a little bit more. So let me get my butter. Sorry that I'm reaching in front of the camera like that. I know, bad fool mom. So I got another 2 tablespoons, I think, and then we're just gonna put it in there. Now, if you're somebody that likes to use margarine, by all means, go ahead and do that. If that's what makes you happy. I like to use real butter because at least I know what's in it. So, and it ends up being very nominal once you put it into your recipe. I mean, this serves 8, sometimes 10. I mean, I take like 1/2 of a slice. Okay, be right back. Okay, so I added more melted butter, like I said, about 1.5 tablespoons, and it is coming together a little bit better and not quite so dry. I'll show you. Yeah, when I press down with the spatula, it stays together. That's one way you'll know. Let me feel it with my finger. Yeah, this is good. So I'm going to mix it for a couple more seconds, and then I'm going to put it into my springform pan. Now, the only oven that you have to use in this recipe is when you're going to bake your springform pan graham cracker crust. Sorry, that was all backwards. You guys know what I mean. Is when you're going to bake your graham cracker crust. However, if you have a larger air fryer, I do, and I will show you that someday, you can bake it in there if your air fryer has those settings. That's one of the reasons that I got the larger air fryer, because I wouldn't have to heat up my whole house in the summer. And it's very versatile. It does multiple functions. So I'm going to pour this in here, and I'm going to start to press it around the sides. And that's my sister in the background. She's just talking to the cats, but it's okay. Alright. Alright, very good. So it's going to look like it's a lot, but like I said, I like my graham cracker crust to go up the sides of the cake, and I like it to be a little thicker. That way it supports the cheesecake, and it'll sort of block the cheesecake from oozing out the sides. And what you're going to do is you're going to wrap this whole thing in tin foil anyway to prevent that. You're going to try to make it as flat as possible so there's no hills and valleys, except for where you're pressing it up against the sides. And you guys see me using my ungloved hands. Well, that's because I'm cooking for myself and my family. I always wash my hands, sometimes multiple times when I cook. And in the wintertime, my hands are really quite dry from doing that. So I always make sure whatever I'm touching with my bare hands are clean and underneath my nails as well. Okay, let me just wash my hands and I'll show you guys. See, I'm washing my hands while I'm rinsing them off, and then I'll wash them before I touch anything in this. But just so I can show you guys. Alright. I'm going to show y'all. So that is what it's going to look like when it is pressed. I could probably press it a little bit higher there, which I think I'm going to do. But that's what it looks like when it's pressed around. Sorry for the camera work. So now I am going to bake this, and I have to go look at my recipe, but I believe it's at 350 for 10 minutes or golden brown. Okay, so now we're going to start working on our cheesecake filling. So the original recipe calls for using a slightly smaller pan, 2 inches smaller. So it calls for a 7-inch, not a 9-inch, but that's what I have. I did have a 7-inch at one time. It did not survive being at someone's house. The bottom of it, they put it in a dishwasher and it rusted. So this is what I got. So I'm just going to tweak the recipe a little bit, and I will leave my tweaked instructions in the description. So if you have any questions and you want to use a 7-inch, that's fine. I'm more than happy to let you guys know that as well. If you just have a 6-quart Instapot. I have two. I have a 6-quart and a 10-quart. 10-quart has been discontinued a couple of years ago, I think. So I will leave you the exact measurements of what I'm doing, and then if you have any questions, feel free to comment and I'll answer. Okay, so I'm going to be using 4 packages of cream cheese. The reason why I have the brand is because I got a really good deal at Costco. It was 6 of these for $10. Can't beat that. I do, however, have one Aldi's brand, and that's okay to mix them. It also calls for a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 4 of these beautiful babies, eggs, of course, I know you know that, a cup of Splenda, or sucralose, as you can see. I use the generic, or you can use regular sugar if that's not a concern for you. I would not use stevia. It kind of gives it a little bit of a drier, crumbly texture, and it's really bitter. And then we are going to use a cup of half and half. The reason why I'm using half and half is because I don't have cream, and I have done this before and it comes out just fine. Okay, so that's going to be our cheesecake filling. Now let's get started. Okay, so into my KitchenAid, that's fitted with a paddle mixer, I have my 4 room temperature softened cream cheese bricks, and I'm going to beat them until there's no lumps. I'm going to stop in a minute and scrape down the sides. I forgot to mention that you want to make sure that that cream cheese is softened. Trying to mix hard cream cheese will just give you lumps and bumps, and it'll just be frustrating. So definitely take out your cream cheese depending on the temperature outside, what season you're in. You know, I took this out last night and I let it go overnight because we have the air conditioner on in the kitchen, and although it's warm for me in this part of the kitchen, at night it gets cooler in here, and by the morning it was softened. In the winter, it might need a little bit longer. See, I just scraped down my side. I don't know if you really can see. I can though. The cream cheese is coming nice and silky. It's getting a sheen to it. In about a minute, I'm going to start adding the other ingredients. I have added my half and half, 1 cup. I'm going to mix that and start it out on slow. Remember, it's not as thick as the heavy cream, so you don't want to start it out on high, because if you do, it's going to splatter everywhere. And I'm going to gradually increase the speed. And then I'm going to add my 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Okay, so this is after the flour is incorporated. I just added our Splenda. That's 1 cup of Splenda. I'm going to put the speed a little bit higher. And of course, I'm going to scrape down the sides. Next, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. If all you have is imitation, go with it. That's fine. We have to use what we've got, right? So I am going to do that, and I'll be right back. Scrape down our bowl, and I've added our 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Right now, it's well combined, so I am going. As you can see, I have added 1 egg, and I'm going to mix it until it's just combined, and then I'll add the other 3 and do the same. And I would say that's just until it's combined. Now I'll do the other 3. You don't need to see that. You've seen the process. It'll be pretty boring if I show you each egg. So I'll be back after I'm done with that. Okay guys, so here is our beautiful graham cracker crust for our cheesecake. It's nice and golden brown, as you can see. I baked it in my air fryer so I wouldn't have to heat up my whole kitchen. Turned out great. And then here is my cheesecake filling. I took a minute and I stirred through it to make sure it didn't have any lumps. It's nice and smooth. I tasted it. Doesn't need any adjustments. I'm going to pour it right into our graham cracker crust right now, and then I'll be back. Right, and there is our cheesecake batter poured over our beautiful graham cracker crust. I'm going to show you what we do to prepare it for the Instapot in just a moment. One of the most important things to do when you're making a cheesecake in your Instapot is to wrap your springform pan really, really well in tin foil. Now the reason for that, of course, this is a leak-proof pan. It really is. I've used it in the oven before. Very high quality pan, is because, you know, there's going to be steam in your Instapot when it comes to pressure, and when it, you know, releases pressure, and you don't want any of that condensation getting in your cheesecake and making it watery. So it is very important. What I did was I did 2 layers, just to make sure that wherever the seams are, nothing sneaks in there, and, you know, we just make sure we get a good product. Because after all, guys, we spent all this time prepping this cheesecake, and wouldn't it be a shame to get it all soggy and gross? Now, as for the Instapot, I've shown you guys this one before, I believe. This is a 10-quart Instapot. I just turned it on by hitting the cancel button. You could hit any button, it'll turn the display on. This is a Duo Nova. This was only made for a short time, I guess because not so many people bought this size of a pot. But at the time, you know, I had a fiance living with me, and he had a big hearty appetite, and, you know, I was cooking for 5-6 people at a time. And I will still bring this out and use this because this is great. It's an awesome size for this. But, you know, unfortunately they discontinued it. I think the biggest one they make now is an 8. So it also has multi-functions. So you want to put about 1.5 cups of water in this size Instapot. It calls for a cup in a 6-quart. I put a little bit more just to make sure there's enough for the machine to come up to pressure, and I put a trivet. This one's silicone. I also have 2 metal ones. You use whatever you've got. So I very carefully lowered the cheesecake down into the trivet, and then I connected the trivet at the top. The metal ones you'll be able to connect as well. They fold over each other, but these, they kind of go right into each other and they form a snap. And this is great because when it's done, you can lift it up with this very carefully. Of course, it's going to be very hot. So I'm going to put my top on, and then I'm going to set it for 50 minutes. The original recipe, like I said, calls for a 7-inch springform pan at 40 minutes, but this is a 9. So I am going to do it for an extra 10 minutes, which brings us to 50 minutes. And then I'm going to check it. It might need a little bit longer. Okay, so like I said, we're going to start it now at 50 minutes. We're going to put it on high pressure for 50 minutes. La 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 la. And then we're going to do a 10-minute natural release. It'll probably take about 20 minutes for this to come up to pressure. While all of this magic is happening, your girl is gonna go put on her pajamas and wash her face because I am warm. Okay guys, so it has been 60 minutes. I let it go a little bit longer on natural release. Now I am opening up the cheesecake. See, it rose a little bit. And that's taking the video. Alright, so some of the cheesecake came off.
Can I try some?
No, you can't. Up there? Yeah, in a minute. So it's a little jiggly, but that's normal. So what? Let's let him take a little bit off the heater.
It's hot.
Yeah. You gotta keep that centered.
Guys, it's good. Trust.
So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna let it come to room temperature because it will crack. I know it's not that pretty on top, but remember we're gonna have some fresh cherry topping for it, so it doesn't have to be beautiful. So I will show you what it looks like when I take it out of the springform pan, but that will not be until tomorrow. So okay, so here is our cheesecake after it has been in the refrigerator overnight. As you can see, it shrunk from what it originally looked like when it came out of the Instapot. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to take a butter knife and I am going to wet it, and I'm going to run it around the springform pan, and what that's going to do is get it loose. So like so, really gently. You want to remember that you're, wow, this is really hard. You want to remember that your graham cracker crust is in there, and it's okay if it takes a little bit away from the sides. It's, wow, this is taking a lot more away from the sides, y'all, but it's still going to taste good. Usually it doesn't do this, but that's okay. No biggie. Because what's going to happen is if you don't do this and you release your springform pan, it's going to take away a whole lot of it. So because we don't want to waste all this goodness, we're just going to take it with a fork and put it on a plate, right? Now let's see what happens. Hopefully this isn't horrible. And I can always kind of mash that back down there. Your springform pans have a buckle. And we're going to lift it off. Crap! Well, I wasn't really expecting that. Usually it doesn't do that. But my hands, which are impeccably clean, I'm just going to put it back together with. Sorry guys, I have never had this happen with a cheesecake before. Of course it would happen to be the one that I make a video of, right? So we did not have power for a couple of days, so I apologize. I was supposed to make a fresh cherry topping for this, but I think I'm just going to defer that for now. I mean, this is so easy, I can make this all the time, so we will do that another time. I'm going to cut into it, and keep in mind, even if this didn't happen, the first piece always comes out a little bit chunky. So you want to use a serrated knife. You want to make sure you cut the bottom, and then you're just going to pull your knife out. Now I do have a cake server, I don't know where it is. So I am just gonna cut this out. Steve's behind the camera. I'm gonna give him his chunk. And I'm just gonna very easily lift this out of here. See, that part went pretty well. Hey guys, so as luck would have it or not have it, I accidentally deleted the taste test video that I took of Steve trying the cheesecake. He did rate it a 10, but as you guys know, he rates everything a 10 that I make. He's such a sweetheart. However, I have had this cheesecake many times, and it really is delicious. I rated a 9. Oh, excuse me. I'm so tired today for some reason. Anywho, it has a creamy yet slight crumbly texture to it. It's got a nice flavor, no aftertaste from using the Splenda, aka sucralose. I don't like to use stevia. You can try monk fruit if you like. Feel free to experiment. You never know unless you try, right? You might have some fails, but that's how we get our successes, by experimenting. So, you know, it would probably be even better with the cherry topping on it. I'm going to be making some cherry jam. I have not made jam in a long time. I do not have my water canner with me, so I'm going to use a stock pot. I hope that that comes out good. If it does, I will share that with you guys as well. You can top that cheesecake with pretty much anything. Just simple chocolate sauce if you want. A little bit of Cool Whip if that's what you like. Other fresh fruit. Hey, the sky's the limit. Go for it. Why not, right? So the reason why I'm sitting in my car is because my battery died and I had to have AAA come out and jump the battery to my 14-year-old car. So, you know, life's got its things, right? Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope that you try making an Instapot cheesecake. I look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments, as always. I am sending love to you from New Jersey, as always. And please like, share, and subscribe. It really does help my channel grow. I so appreciate it. Until the next time, guys. Bye!